Fans of this show were very sad to learn that Netflix did not renew it for a season 2, so we're left with just these 8 episodes. But I had not yet checked out the show, so let's talk KAOS. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for KAOS. This is streaming on Netflix and just 8 episodes long now as it was canceled. But I had a few friends that were really into this show, very upset when it got canceled. But critically, it's a little more mixed. So I figure, well, I got to check this thing out for myself. And so we'll talk about KAOS here in just a moment. First, though, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you're a subscriber already, thank you so much for that. But if you are not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell. And that way you'll get the alerts for all my new drops. I do try to post just about every day, so always a lot going on here. And of course, just liking this video, commenting below, that stuff helps the channel out tremendously. All right, so this was created by Charlie Covell, who already worked with Netflix, creating The End of the Effing World, which was an adaptation of the graphic novel. But this was Charlie's own creation and taking a cue sort of from things like Bridgerton and Dickinson on Apple TV, which was placing the characters in their own era, but with modern parlance and modern music and all of that. This sort of takes the opposite approach. It takes the Greek gods and the Greek people from mythology and puts them in present day. And so this is sort of a twist on what Bridgerton does and shows like that. So this is with Jeff Goldblum playing Zeus, very powerful, of course, but this version is insecure, unsure of himself, and Jeff Goldblum, you know, he always is kind of Jeff Goldblum, right? He just, you know, doesn't vary his approach too much to the characters. However, some characters, I think, lend themselves more to the Jeff Goldblum pentameter than other characters. And I think Zeus is a perfect fit for what Jeff Goldblum does. I think he's great here. And he's got, of course, his fellow god Prometheus shackled to the Isle of a Cliff, played by Stephen Delane, a Shakespearean trained actor who has done Macbeth and Hamlet, either, you know, on screen or on stage. And so he's a great casting choice as well. And he's, you know, constantly torturing Prometheus, but every so often he summons him to basically, you know, make him feel better about himself, kind of stroke his ego a bit. And he tells of this prophecy, Prometheus does. He says, a line appears, the order reigns, the family falls, and chaos reigns. And so this is, you know, sticking in the back of Zeus's mind. You've also got Janet McTeer as Hera. And we have also the unwitting involvement of 3 mortal humans, Eurydice, Caeneus, and Eridane, played respectively by, let's see if I can find them here, played respectively by Aurora Perrineau, Misia Butler, and Lazia Farad. You also have David Thewlis as Hades. Who else here? Cliff Curtis as Poseidon, Killian Scott as Orpheus, and Debbie Mazar shows up. Always love seeing her as Medusa. And there's other people here as well, Billy Piper, you know, people that you might recognize from things, but those are sort of your main characters. And look, I'm not super into the specifics of mythology. Like when I watch Jeopardy and there's a mythology category, I'm like, okay, unless it's a really basic, you know, item, I probably won't know. I've actually learned a little bit more in the last year or two doing the New York Times crossword puzzle, because every so often there'll be a reference to some sort of Greek myth or Roman myth. So I know a little bit, I know the basics, so I can't really speak to the specificity of the characters here. But from what I know about the characters, even if some of the stories go a little bit in different places than we've heard before in the classic myths, I do feel like, from what I know about them, their personality traits are still, you know, pretty much intact, just sort of maybe tweaked a little bit. And this is fun, but and I can see why people are, like, really into it. Like I said, I have a few friends that were, like, obsessed with it when it came out. But I will say, I think that there's a little too much going on, certainly just for 8 episodes. I mean, I read you kind of the main characters, but there's like, 20 different characters in this, and they all are, sort of fighting for screen time. And so there's a handful of storylines that just don't really connect, I think, because we don't spend enough time with them, or just you could lift them right out of the series and it wouldn't matter. There's a few of those, so I would say that's certainly one of the weaker elements of the show. And the other one I would say is that I think it can't quite tell if it wants to lean into the more dramatic aspects, or just kind of go for the satirical, tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff, which I think it does the most well when it's attacking that, when it's doing sort of the tongue-in-cheek thing. I think that's where it shines. The other stuff is a little more hit or miss for me. There's also some music here that I think really, no pun intended, strikes a chord with the material. I think it's a really good pairing of modern music with the performances and the tone of the show, which I think actually is something that Bridgerton did not do very well. Yes, there was modern music played on, like cellos and stuff, but it was more like a gimmick. I feel like here they're actually like going to concerts and stuff. So I think it's a little more integrated in that way. So look, overall, I think it's a slight mixed bag, but I will say, I think it is kind of a bummer that this show was canceled after just the 8 episodes. I think there were a lot more avenues to travel here, a lot more, things to uncover, and maybe giving some of these characters and story arcs that, we didn't quite get enough time with. Maybe in subsequent seasons, we would have had more time with those to connect a little bit more with the audience. So I leave KAOS with a B. I definitely see why people were very into this. I think, when it's good, it's very good. But I just wish we had maybe some more time to connect with the characters that we didn't, and, more with their story arcs and stuff. All right, that will do it. If you want to check this out, it's on Netflix. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I will see you next time. Bye.